I am now going to turn it over to our next speaker, Jeanette. And I actually get the pleasure of introducing Jeanette. Jeanette has been working as a human resources manager for Alphabeta groups of companies for about 3 years now. She has been an HR professional for 28 years, and her areas of expertise include recruitment, training and development, employee relations, policy and procedure development, performance management, benefit design and structure, compensation analysis, employer-employer advocate. Jeanette has also worked in media, oil and gas service sector, engineering consulting, not-for-profit, and construction landscaping sectors. She's a member of HRIA, and she is going to take over for me on stage. Thank you very much for your questions and your time today.
Thank you, everybody. We're having some technical difficulties, so that's all great. We've got it going now. So my name's Jeanette, and I have done a lot of recruiting in my background. I've been in the industry for a long time, and throughout my entire time in HR, I've always been recruiting, and 3 years when I was with an engineering company, that's all I did. So I still do that very actively today, so I could tell you stories about receiving resumes and what to look for and what to do and what not to do. Okay, so your cover letter, very important. I can't stress enough either about having resume set up so that it's for the specific company. I have been actively recruiting. I've been working ridiculous hours and I've almost got most of my placements already hired, but I have been looking through resumes, and sometimes I have to read through 60 resumes before I get somebody that actually looks like they're going to be suited for the job. One of the things, I love reading cover letters. To me, that shows personality of who's applying. Depending on the position that you're looking for, if you're looking for an engineer, for example, there are certain qualifications you have to have. I'm in the landscaping industry, and there are certain things you have to have as well, but the personality is something that, what is this person going to be like? Are they going to fit in with our corporate culture? Are they going to be showing up every day? It's one thing with the applicant tracking system, we don't use it. And yes, I do have to read through a lot of resumes, but you may have heard the saying, you could train an individual, but once a person is a certain age, by the time they're about 18, 20, maybe well before then, I think they said personalities are formed by the time you're 12, that's who you're going to be. Who that person is, and it's very important to us. We have a corporate culture and we want to match it with our company. I don't want somebody that's going to come and work and, be in charge of the crew and be, raising their voice and being unprofessional with our crew. So to me, I could always train somebody. If somebody doesn't have quite the skills I'm looking for, if they have the personality and they're somebody that's trainable, I would far better hire that person. So again, it does specifically depend on what type of job you're looking for. If it was in the engineering field, I'd still be looking at the person because I was hiring for engineering, and a lot of times, you may have read some of the stats, it's like 4% of the times that somebody isn't working out with a company, it's not because of their skill set, it's because of their social skills or lack of. So keep that in mind when you are applying for a job, that the employer wants to see who are you and bring that out. In a cover letter, it's very important. Just this week, I had an applicant that, just looking at the resume alone, I would not have had him in for an interview. It was this cover letter that sold me, and I told him that. And, so it is important. Keep your resume 1 to 2 pages. I know one lady was saying about the page numbers. If it's more than 2 pages, forget it. Like, it's just, we're not going to read it. It's too long. And it takes a long time to go through. We've got a number of positions posted, but I've had over 4,800 resumes to look through. So you could just imagine, it's overwhelming, it's a slog, so you don't want to get buried in that. So it's important that you make yourself look presentable, that you have so I could almost say, gee, I kind of feel like I know this person. Like, put something about yourself. Who are you? Because that is what a lot of companies want to know. Are you going to be a good fit for us? Transferable skills. So there's a lot of people right now, obviously I'm seeing a ton of resumes from the oil and gas sector who people are out of work. And, they have absolutely no landscaping experience, but maybe they have construction experience, or maybe they have other skills where they have managed people. I mean, we have, for our crew leaders, we have foremen. Those are skills that I want to know about, because those things are definitely transferable and would do you, well to put those out. There's usually a little caption on your resume that says what you're looking for. Please be very careful with those, because I have had so many where somebody will say, I really want to work at Home Depot. And it's like, okay, you're applying to Alpha Landscaping, that's nice to know. So if somebody isn't going to be personalizing, and you would not believe how many people actually do that. So just be careful, because sometimes, people are just firing off resumes and they're, like, oops, so there's one company right off, like, forget it, we're not going to be looking at you, because if you don't have a second to take a look that you sent it to the right place, or you put something in your resume. Or again, people are being lazy and they're saying, I want to have experience, or I want a job in the retail or in the hospitality industry, and they're applying for landscaping. So again, that's somebody that it's like, okay, file 13, I'm not looking at that any further. So you've got like about 10, 15 seconds when a person's starting to look at your resume, so you gotta make an impression, and you gotta make it fast. So you gotta make sure that those things are indicated. Another thing that I would tell you is, as recruiters, and as an HR manager, we are looking at the social media too. So if I'm looking for somebody, especially for a salaried position that's gonna be with us for some time, I'm looking at your Facebook page, okay? So sometimes we have people from all different ages. We have quite a few people from the younger industries, and it just depends, or younger ages I should say, it depends on the position. But you would not believe what some people put on their Facebook. And it's like, oh, partying, got wasted last night, or they'll say stuff about their company that is derogatory. And you know what? Like, that does not fly. I'm looking on LinkedIn. So just be careful, especially, once we get to a certain age, we think we're matured and we don't do that kind of stuff, or at least if you do, don't make it public, because you don't know who's looking at that. So just be careful. You could go to Google and punch in anybody's name, you could type it, and it's amazing. I punched in my own, and I was surprised at how many things that were up there that, I got an award for long term with the Human Resources Association, and I don't know, I donated some I did some donations and volunteered somewhere, and my name kept popping up, and I thought, wow, so just go home and Google your name and just see what comes up. It's kind of interesting. So be careful about those things. So obviously change your resume to suit the job, and provide hobbies and interests. Like, I can't stress it enough. I want to get to know, who are you? Like, yeah, okay, you've got a degree in this and you went there and all that kind of good stuff, and that's wonderful. But again, we want to see a little insight into you as an individual. How are you going to fit in with the team? Are you going to have somebody, are you going to follow our corporate culture? Are you somebody that's a good fit? If you're not, that's fine, but it probably wouldn't be good for you, and it wouldn't be good for us. So, and is this someplace that you'd want to work? I think it would be, because we have a great company, but it's, those are things that you want to do. And provide accurate contact information. Again, I can't tell you again how many people have put the wrong email address, and after I've hired a candidate, and I always say to them, let's just verify, is this the correct information, because I'm going to be sending you a welcome email and list all the things you need to bring with you on orientation day, just to remind you, because we've gone over it. And there's been many times, oh, my email changed, or oh, there's a letter, and like they put, Fred Smith, and then there's an extra letter, it's a typo. Or they've got a new phone number. Well, no wonder nobody's calling you, because nobody can reach you, So just be very careful that you have accurate, these things seem very simple, but again, it's amazing at what you see, or at least at what I've been seeing with resumes. Okay, so now you have the interview. Somebody has read through your resume, and they said, okay, I want, to come and see you. Please be on time. It's a good rule of thumb, be 10 minutes or so early. If you get there half an hour early, sometimes it's a little unnerving, because quite often I will book interviews back to back. And then somebody comes half an hour early, and I feel kind of guilty because I can't see them right now, or I'm, just going into a 10-15 minute meeting. And sometimes I kind of get the impression people think, I'm here, so come and interview me. And if I can, I will, but, quite often I'll say, okay, I'll be back with you at the scheduled time, or can you, if you like, walk around the block, there's a coffee, help yourself. But, sometimes that could be a little unnerving, so 10 minutes is great. If it's more than that, maybe sit in the car, go for a walk around the block. And sometimes too, I've had candidates which I thought, okay, this is great, that have come the night before to make sure that they've got the right address and they know where they're going. Because one of the worst things that looks on a job when you come 5-10 minutes late, like you've already kind of sealed the coffin most times before you even get in. And then it's not fair to the other applicant if you've got somebody behind you. Like, I won't carry on the interview longer because it's not fair to the other applicant, because, why should they have to suffer because someone else came late in front of them? Research the company. One of the questions I ask is, what do you know about us? And some people will say, oh, I've researched your company and this, and this. I know when I was being interviewed, I've been with the company for 3 years, our president had asked, so what do you know? And I mean, being, from my background from human resources, I researched that company. I told him things he probably didn't even remember about the company because it's 37 years in business. But, and he said to me, wow, you really do know our company. And, well, I got hired. So, I mean, it's good. So make sure that you do your research, check the website, and refresh yourself, when you're going on the interview. Dress appropriately for the job. If you're not sure what that means, ask when you're being called, what should I wear? We had the other day, somebody came, and we're a landscaping company. So, dress is fairly casual. The people are going to be out working in the elements. And, a guy showed up in a suit and a tie. It kind of gives, now, if it was for a professional, an estimator or something like that, business development, that's fine, that's appropriate. But, for somebody that's going to be working out in the field with their crew, with, wearing safety vests and hard-toed boots, it's kind of a little extreme. So just be aware, and if you're not sure what you should do, just ask them, what's the dress code? If you feel uncomfortable doing that, go middle of the road. Wear a pair of dress pants and a dress shirt, don't put on a tie. If you're going to a lawyer's office, obviously, and you're a lawyer, well then put on a suit. So just dress according to the position. So ask questions. The worst thing in an interview too is when a person doesn't speak up and they don't ask questions, because we think you're not interested. As much as you can, let yourself shine through, because this is going to be a place that you're going to be hanging your hat. Are you going to be happy? Because I always think when we're interviewing you, you're interviewing us too. I always look at it that way. Is this going to be a good fit for you? If you think it's not, then that's okay, because better know that then, that this isn't a good fit, but, I got some experience on my, on how to interview, if you can even ask. So can you give me any insight? Like, you could even say, I don't think this job is quite for me, but can you give me any insight? What was it about me that had you, look at my resume? Is there any tips that you could give me? And I've definitely done that for people, because, they want to get employed, and obviously I can't hire everybody. And neither can any other employer, right? So ask for tips. Usually people are more than happy to help you with that. And that's, goes with saying, determine whether you would be a good fit, and ask for the next steps. I always like to tell people, but sometimes when you go on an interview, they don't tell you, and then you're thinking, well, now what, right? So if the person's a good recruiter, they should be telling you, okay, we're going to get back, we're going to be still reviewing applicants. Within a week, we'll get back to you one way or the other, and then, whether they call you or send you an email, like, that's professional. Don't be afraid to follow up too. That's always a good thing, especially if the recruiter tells you, I'm going to be back to you in a week, and they don't get back to you, then just follow up. Another very good rule of thumb is send an email. Usually you'll get the recruiters or the manager, whoever's interviewing you, their business card. Follow up. It's very professional. We like it when somebody sends email to say, thank you very much for the time that you took. I'm very interested in this job, if you are, and say, these are, again, some of the things that that I think I would be very good at, and I look forward to hearing back from you. It's just a nice little touch. A lot of people don't do that anymore. I don't know why, but it is good, because it gets your face back into, and do that either that day or for sure by the next day in the morning, because it gets your name back up in the forefront, because now they're, oh yeah, okay, that candidate, because, you know, at the end of the day, sometimes I've interviewed 6, 7 people, and, you know, my head is just sort of rolling, because in between that, like, you've done a whole bunch of reading resumes before that, names all kind of flow together, and so I'll remember discussions, and I'll go look back on my interview notes and say, oh yeah, that was a guy, and it's usually through some personal story or something that they've told me that I remember who they are. So it's a good tactic to follow. Transitioning from other industries, be positive. You know, if you're coming from, I'm just going to use oil and gas because there's so many people that are out of work and, you know, according to the resumes I'm getting, show me where your transferable skills are. For example, in landscaping, a lot of people have their own yard, right? So people probably have done some landscaping. Even if it was years ago in your past, show, you know, where you have some skills. If it's something that, you know, your people skills. If you were managing a crew of people and you're in oil and gas, you could say, okay, these are some of the things that I've done. I've, you know, brought people up, for example, that were, I, you know, conducted the training, this is how I did it, this is how, you know, I could use these skills, like show us how you could be a good fit. Because, you know, that is important. Have a good attitude. Sometimes when you've been on a number of interviews, you can get kind of jaded, so try to be positive, you know, be willing to learn. We want to take some of those skills and transfer them into the marketplace, and especially some people, you know, that I've heard, like they're done with certain industries because they're, you know, been the ups and downs. They want to find some place that they could hang their hat and be somewhere where the market isn't as volatile. And so, you know, we want to hear from you. Show us how and demonstrate it, because we're not going to do it for you. You need to really show where those skills are transferable that we can use. Teamwork, that's something that's really important these days, as is common sense. And sometimes I think common sense is not something you could teach somebody. Either a lot of times you have it or you don't. A lot of the people here are more mature. You know, some people, you know, even with your kids, if they're looking for jobs, just, you know, tell them some of the things that you know as a parent, and that, you know, you've got to be able to think on your feet, be able to solve problems, be able to work with other people. You know, every place you go, no matter what industry, you're going to be working with people, and that is very important. And the teamwork is key. Because if you're somebody that does an awesome job, but you annoy everybody around you, nobody wants to work with you, you know, nobody's going to want to hire you, or if you do get hired, you're not going to last very long. Embrace the corporate values. With us, that was one of the things. We have 5 corporate values, and that was one of the things that drew me to the company. Being in HR, you know, I kind of see myself as the keeper of the rules. So if the corporate values are something that's way off base from who you are, it's probably not going to be a good fit for you. You know, so make sure that you embrace those things. That was one of the things that really drew me to applying for our company. But you know, research it and speak to people if you know anybody. Sometimes, you know, I'm a chatty person, so I'll have conversations with people at the C train station. Oh, where do you work? I know when I was engineering, I always used to check out people's fingers to see if they were wearing a pinky ring. Not if they were married, but if they had a pinky ring, you know, with the engineering ring, because the world is your recruitment ground. It doesn't have to be just in the office. So arrive earlier on time. It's okay to start again if you're starting a new career. Just have some of those transferable skills. Show that you're a problem solver. Those are things that a lot of times on a job, how are you a problem solver? What things have you done? Be careful that there are going to be, usually with myself, I will ask about half of the questions I ask are behavioral based, and they will be, show me an example of a time that you had, or give me an example of a time that you had a conflict with a coworker or a manager or customer. What was the situation and how did you resolve it? You know, I'm not trying to look into your, you know, past. I want to see how are you solving problems. And, you know, so you could be getting behavioral-based questions, because that starts dialogue, that's conversation. We want to know those things, and it's pretty hard to just say, oh, I haven't really had any conflicts. You know, everybody has had situations that have arisen. And bring your life skills. Those skills are great. That's how you're gonna work within a company, how you're gonna problem solve. Sometimes young people don't have that many life skills yet, but they're learning them. And, so bring those to the forefront. Those are always good things to have. And open to a new culture. A lot of times there's people from other cultures and, it's different from what they're used to. I guess, for transitioning, try to maybe do a little bit of research on what Canadian culture is like. It may be different. I know I used to do some cultural training in my background, and we had one candidate that other people were getting upset with because they said anytime he talked like he was in my face, and they felt, it was invasive of and they thought he was being aggressive. And the gentleman was just from a country that, that was norm, and it was nothing to do with him trying to be aggressive, but people see things differently. So maybe try to do if you are from another culture and you've recently arrived in Canada, maybe try to take a look a little bit under cultural training and just see what is it like to be a Canadian, what are we like, and maybe kind of keep some of those things in mind. Let's see, where am I at? We do a lot of on-the-job training. This is a little bit lengthy, but with us, we do a lot of training on the job. That's probably going to be happening to a lot of people when no matter what job you're going into, you're going to have on-the-job training. Even if it's something that you're skilled in, it's going to be from the safety aspect, it's going to be showing you a timetable for training, arranging the work site, pay attention to this kind of tasks. If you're going to a job and they're not showing you on-the-job training, that's kind of a concern because some places make an assumption, okay, we're going to be digging tree holes. Believe it or not, there is a right way to dig tree holes. There's a right way to hold certain equipment and things so that you don't get carpal tunnel syndrome and things. So pay attention to the training that is being supplied for you. If you don't know something, always ask. And don't be afraid to ask. Employers don't mind that. Would rather you ask than do something incorrectly and break something or hurt yourself or hurt a coworker. So for closing remarks, demonstrate your suitability for the job. And this is especially true when you're transitioning from another company. You got to bring it forward and know what the job is about, because there should have been a job posting or something telling you what we're looking for. Bring that forward of other transferable skills and show us who you are. That, for me, is the most important. Give us a good reason to hire you. Because, there are times when, I've hired somebody where I thought, oh, hey, this is going to work out, and they have worked out wonderfully. So bring that to the forefront. And, basically all the best in your career search. I'll be here for questions and answers later, if anybody has any questions then. So thank you very much for your attention, and good luck in the job search.